Welcome back to some more Corpse Body. Book of Shadows. We're still busy with Demise, and I think it's the final part of Demise. We've been reading for about 2 hours already. We grabbed the salt, and that's where we ended the episode. So this looks like leftover salt from an old chemistry experiment. I heard that the salt was used in purification rituals, so it seemed like a natural choice. I placed the salt in my pocket as a sort of protective charm. When I looked over, the spurred old woman was holding out her hand from the other side of the doorframe. She really was trying to catch me. I wasn't just being paranoid. She was going to kill me and turn me into a ghost like her. I was convinced this had to be Yoshi, the teacher from the urban legend. Bracing myself, I darted towards the door at the back end of the classroom. There wasn't a moment to lose. If I didn't act fast, I probably wouldn't be able to act at all. I threw the door open and just began running at the top speed, hoping to escape behind the spirit's back. Unsurprisingly, trying to outrun a ghost proved to be a fruitless endeavor. The spirit saw me moved at a breakneck speed to intercept. I thrusted my hand into the pocket and threw the bag of salt. Then threw the entire thing directly at the old woman's face. Whether that thunder wasn't my real life, dude. Just so you know. She recoiled. Now's my chance. I ran down the hall as fast as my legs would carry me, briefly glancing over my shoulders after a moment to confirm that the spirit was still writhing. I just kept on running down the dark hallway, just nothing but an old adrenaline and mortal fear to keep me going. I reached the stairwell at the end of the hall and made a mad dash towards ground level. I was determined to get out of this building alive. Finally, still moving at top speed, I reached the window door leading outside. Luckily, the male violent spirit hadn't caught up to me yet. It actually seemed like I might be able to escape. I might actually survive this. I grabbed the handle and tried pulling it. No, this is not happening. Break the glass. Putting my thoughts in order, I came to a sudden realization that I was right near a umbrella racks. Unless the spirit had taken it or something, my umbrella should still have been right where I left it. I practically tackled the rack, grabbing my umbrella in one swift motion, not from the handle, mind you, but from the top. Then, thinking I'd aim at the glass part of the door, I swung it as hard as I could, smacking the head center of the sturdy plastic handle. The glass wasn't going to break so easily, of course, but it did crack, giving me the impetus I needed to go in for a second hit. Again and again, I struck the glass. I had the umbrella gripped so tightly that the metal skeleton of the canopy was leaving indentations in my skin. I was sure there had to be a better way to do this, but I didn't have the luxury of time to figure out what it might have been. I began smacking the glass even harder, even faster. My hands were killing me, but this was my only hope of survival. Finally, after far too much effort, the glass shattered onto the floor, making one hell of a sound. Tepid air whooshed in from outside. It was still pouring rain, but I was free now. Free to escape this hellhole. The pain I'd broken was on the lower half of the door, and I didn't care if I cut myself. I got down on my hands and knees, and I crawled like mad. I felt triumphant. For a brief moment, the fear was gone, and I was basking in my victory over the malevolent entity. But it didn't last long. Before I was even halfway through the door, I felt something coiling itself around my arm. With a start, I looked back.
外は行けませんよ。
A tall, shadowy figure had appeared behind me in the entranceway, and she had me in her grasp. There wasn't much more to her than an indistinctly flickering silhouette, but I could clearly see she had a broken neck. Was this a different apprehension? Her scarably rooted-like fingers were squeezing my arm with tremendous force, pushing aside muscles and tissue, and pressing right on the bone.
どこに行くの？もう少しだから待ってて。
I was shaking hysterically, and tears were streaming down my face. I was absolutely convinced that I was going to die here.
さっちゃん。
I could offer no resistance. She was too strong. All I could do was plead with her. I felt like my arm could snap in two at any moment.
ずーっと一緒にいましょうね。
She wasn't just grabbing, she was twisting as well. The pain was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. I couldn't think about anything else. My mind was absorbed by the unconsiderable agony. What the heck? I thought my arm was about to snap off, and then all of a sudden I was whisked away? Whisked away by Tsukasa?
大丈夫か？
どうして？
今、しのごの言ってる場合じゃない。逃げるぞ。
Tsukasa was still holding on to me tightly after saving me from the brink of death. He led me back into the school at an incredible speed.
ちくしょう、なんだよさっきのは。俺は夢でも見てるのか。
He practically spat these words as he continued running.
ここに司くんが。
I tried to match his gait, and at once they were a bit more in sync. I looked up at his face. After we'd reached the end of the hall, he suddenly veered into the last classroom before the stairwell, pulling me in with him.
シシド、お前怪我はないか。
大丈夫。私はもう一人で歩けるから。
ああ、悪い。
I moved away from Tsukasa and almost immediately spilled onto the ground like a house of cards.
おい、大丈夫じゃないじゃん。
そうだけど、でもすぐに。
無理すんなよ。
Tsukasa grabbed my arm to help me up. Unfortunately, it was the arm Yoshi had been twisting.
悪い。やっぱり腕怪我してるのか。
よくわかんない。でもすっごく痛いよ。焼けるみたい。
I draped my other hand over the sore spot, where I assumed there was probably one hell of a bruise. I started rubbing gently, but it didn't help at all.
そうか。じゃあ保健室ですぐに手当てした方がいいな。
でもそしたらまた。
あいつが来るって。
Just thinking about going back out there, was facing Yoshi, made me shudder. Shudder? I couldn't believe he was even entertaining the idea.
心配すんな。もし仮にあいつが来ても、俺が絶対お前を守ってやるから。
司くん。
Tsukase's gently reassurance actually made me forget the pain of my arm for a moment. I had to stop myself from blushing. Or try to, at any rate.
怪我は一刻も早く手当てした方がいいって。まあどうせ先生なんかいないだろうけど、応急手当てくらいなら俺にだってできる。よし、行くぞ。
Tsukasa offered me his hand, and I graciously took it, squeezing it tightly as he led me back into the hallway.
司くんの手、あったかい。
Despite the fact that nothing had really changed, I was still in just as much danger as I've been. The paralyzing fear I'd been feeling was gone. If it were just me, I wouldn't never been able to do this. I would have frozen up. But with Tsukasa leading the way, I felt like I could do anything.
シシド、少し走るけど大丈夫か。
With my blessing, Tsukasa upped his pace significantly.
あいつが出てきませんように。
I prayed silently for smooth sailing as I followed Tsukasa's lead.
このまま司くんと一緒にいられれば安心。
I gently squeezed his hand again, as if to reassure myself that he was still with me. I was starting to think that maybe Yoshi was gone. Maybe we'd thwarted, yeah, her. But of course, just as I was thinking that, she made her presence known again.
なんだってんだ。出てこい。
An unearthly voice reverberated through the dark corridor. I immediately drew myself into Tsukasa's back.
もっと連れてこい。
Over Tsukasa's shoulder, I saw the same shadow-like spirit from before. It must have been waiting here to ambush us.
大丈夫、落ち着け。
The ghost was moaning and wavering before us. We'd never be able to get past it.
私のために何でもしてくれる。
おい、シシド。俺があいつを引きつけるから、その隙に走って逃げろ。
やだよ、一緒に逃げて。
俺には秘密兵器があるのさ。俺のばあさんからもらった形見のお守り。さっきあいつにこれを向けたら少し弱りやがった。
形見のお守り？
あ
でも司君やっぱり危険。
俺？まあなんとかなるだろ。
そん
待ちなさい。
We really didn't have time to argue. It was closing in fast. And it didn't... What? And as it did, I noticed the spirit's figure had become more defined. She was a tall young woman, with her head turned sideways at a 90-degree angle. The tale of Yoshi suggested that she fell down a flight of stairs, so she broken her neck would certainly fit.
早く走れ。
He gave me back a shove to get started, with no time to object. I consciously obliged. Tsukasa ran too, darting ahead with me for a few short moments.
おい、化け物、こっちだ。
待ちなさい。
Tsukasa ran as close as he possibly could to get Yoshi's attention, then turned tail and began sprinting off to the opposite direction.
こっちだぞ、化け物。
Amazingly, it worked. The spirit began chasing Tsukasa, leaving me completely unobstructed.
どうしよう。私このまま一人逃げてもいいの？
I was torn on the one hand. I knew this was my best chance, but I couldn't help worrying about what would happen with Tsukasa's if his charm failed. I stopped for a moment and glanced over my shoulder. He was still running, and the shadowy figure was still on his hot pursuit.
いいから行けって。お前が逃げ切ったのを確認したら俺も逃げるからさ。
I still can't believe I fell for it, but this was right about when I realized the truth. You want to hear my truth? The plan is already made, just execute it now. The problem is, if you don't execute the plan, then obviously there's going to be room for error. Just execute the plan. It's already cold. Tsukasa had no protective charm. He just made that up, so I wouldn't object too strongly to him serving as a decoy while I got away.
やっぱりダメ。
Oh my god. I stopped in the tracks and shouted out to the top of my lungs.
よしえ先生。
I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting myself into, but I had to do something, and calling the spirit's name definitely seemed to have an effect.
あなたの名前知ってるわよ。
おい、シシド。
All at once, the black figure was facing me, though I never saw her turn around. She was flying towards me now, ignoring Tsukasa's.
怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない。
I repeated this like a mantra stuck in my head. It's like, what? Stuck one hand into my pocket, grasping tightly onto the one and only item I'd stashed there.
お前は私を知っているのか。
私には本当にお守りがある。
Tsukaza's care, his effort, his beliefs, they were all packed into this pencil. And when you get it right down to it, that's what a charm is, right? I squeezed the rubby little thing in my pocket, mentally preparing myself for the confrontation ahead. Confrontation I'd impulsively initiated.
シスト逃げろ。
逃げない。私は逃げないわ。神様、どうかお願い。助けて。
I closed my eyes, lifted my hand from the pocket, and brandished Tsukaza's pencil intently. The gauntlet had been thrown. I was putting a lot of faith into this, and I really, really hoped I hadn't made a mistake doing it.
私は獅子のゆい。この学校で先生を目指しているわ。
I opened my eyes to find that the shadowy spirit Yoshi had stopped dead in her tracks. Did it work? Was Yushaga's pencil keeping this vengeful soul at bay?
私の代わりはいらない。死ね。
Suddenly, I was whisked off my feet and slammed against the ceiling.
シシド
I could see him down below. He was staring up at me and desperately leaping. He was trying to catch me, I suppose, even though he knew he'd never reach. I called out to him over and over again in my head or in my mind. If he could get away, if he could survive this ordeal, then it would all have been worth it. Yoshi was drawing near, and I was helplessly pinned to the ceiling. I had no chance at all. There was no doubt in my mind that my life was over. I could clung to relief. I felt at Tsukaza's safety. It was the only thing keeping me from losing my head entirely. Then, all at once, the situation took a complete 180. It was like a miracle.
篠崎義恵、そこまでにせい。
Before I had any idea what was happening, I found myself bathed in a gentle light.
おばあちゃん。
守ってやれんですまんな。せめてこれ以上邪術が拡大せぬことを。
It was the old woman who had collapsed in front of my house. She was standing down below me, enveloped in the warm glow. The black shadow lunged towards her. Then there was a horrific noise, and the old woman was gone.
シスト
And just like that, I fell to the ground. Whatever Yoshi had done to me, the old woman must have nullified it. That must have been why she came to me this morning, and why she had come again now. I felt like I was going to faint. Tsukaza ran to my side and gently scooped me off the ground into his arms. Yoshi's spirit was gone. She'd vanished along with the light. Around us now, The only sound was the pitter-patter of raindrops on the school roof.
おい、獅子だ獅子だ
司くん。
I'd suffered quite a bump on the head from the fall and was decidedly disorientated, but still had enough sense to put my arms around Tsukasa's neck.
バカ、逃げろって言ったのに。
ごめん。でも。
I wanted to protect you. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you, is what I wanted to say. But instead, I just passed out in his arms. I felt as though I was waking from a long, horrible dream.
おい、大丈夫かおい、獅子だ
ここ、どこ？
本当に大丈夫か見ればわかるだろ学校の保健室だって。
保健室。
It occurred to me that I'd look at my surroundings, probably something I should have done before asking about them. But in my defense, I was out cold. I don't know how to say that. Beige walls, beige, there we go. Beige walls, pink curtains, white beds, and solid blue covers. This was indeed the school infirmary. No doubt about it.
どうして？
どうしてもこうしても、お前があんなところで倒れてたから、ここに連れてきてやったんじゃん。
あんなところ？
おいおい、まだ具合悪いんじゃないのか肛門だよ、肛門。
Right by the school gate? But he found me there?
肛門に？私、そこに倒れてったの？
そうだけど。
Hmm?
私、確かに学校の中でヨシエさんから逃げて。そうだ、腕を怪我して。腕、なんと。
はあ？腕？
夢だったの？そんなはずない。だって本当に痛くて死んじゃいそうだったのに。
まあなんか様子が変だけど、とにかく無事でほっとしたよ。こういうのって虫の知らせって言うんだな。なんとなく気になってお前ん家に行ったら、お前のお母さんに学校に行ったって聞いてな。そしたらあんなところに倒れてるんだもんな。
司くん、
まあとりあえず詳しい話は後で聞くからさ。ちょっと待ってな。
司くん、行っちゃった。ヨシエさんのこと聞こうと思ったのに。
あら、シシドさん、目が覚めたのね。
先
生！驚いたわよ。三國くんが血相変えて私を呼びに来るんだもの。私が当直でよかったわね。
ご迷惑をおかけしてすみません。
それはいいのよ。でも、あなたずいぶんうなされていたから、悪い夢でも見てたんじゃない？
悪い夢？
そうよ。三國くんもすごく心配してたわよ。
そうだ。やっぱり、きっと悪い夢なんだ。
ともかく、もう大丈夫？
はい。
そう、よかったわ。
The nurse smiled cheerfully and disappeared behind the positioning curtain. Letting out a sigh, I laid out myself down in the bed once more. It was dead silent. The rain must have let up. The only sound I heard was occasionally a cough from the nurse, who was otherwise going about her business quietly.
そういえば、ペンケース。
I thrust my hands into the pockets, not really expecting to find it, but
ちゃんとある。
there it is. The pen case, complete with the pencil from Tasuka's talisman. Inside was a present accounted for, which meant that
やっぱり教室には行ったんだ。やっぱり夢じゃない。
おーい。
あ、司くんおかえり。
I was still trying to remember exact details about what happened when I unexpectedly felt something cold pressed against my cheek.
これって。
お前うなされてただろ。汗もかいてたし喉乾いたんじゃないかなと思ってさ。ほらコーヒー牛乳。
ありがとう。
Tsukasa went out of his way to buy this just for me. It was a lovely gesture. How could I possibly refuse?
お前さ、明日というかもう今日か。推薦の試験だろ。何時からだ。あと4時間か。
もう無理だよ今日は。
I'd been put through hell on earth. Taking a test was the furthest thing from my mind. I was in tears, and I had no idea why. Maybe it was because I was relieved. So glad to be alive.
よし。なあ、シシド。
え？
ちょうどいいから、お前にいいもの見せてやるよ。
いいもの？
ああ、そうだな。むしろ、お前には見てほしいんだ。
うん。
My nose was still running, but my heart felt a lot lighter. I no longer felt threatened by this school. I was comfortable and safe. The two of us left the nurse office with Tsukusa's in the lead. Even though I was holding a cold coffee in my hand, I still felt warm all over. Neither of us said a thing as he led me through the empty halls. It occurred to me that when we last saw one another, I was mad at him.
シシド、着いたぞ。
ここって渡り廊下？
まあまあ、もうすぐだからちょっと待てよ。
もうすぐ？
I had no idea what I was looking for. I just kept staring at him, but his eyes were fixed on the window leading out into the walkway. As I gazed upon him in profile, I felt my heart skip a beat.
昨日のこと謝らなくちゃいけない。
But I wasn't sure what to say. I let my feelings get the better of me and reprimanded him for behavior that was, at least at the time, entirely reasonable. There was more to it than that, though. There was one particular reason, more than any other, that made it hard for me to think of the words to say here. He and I had run from Yoshi together. We escaped her wrath against insurmountable odds. And what if that wasn't all just a dream?
出てきたぞ。
I followed Tsukosa's pointing finger and...
朝日。すごい。すごい。
So I guess this is what he was talking about. This is his favorite spot that is only good sometimes.
俺、ここでよく夕日を眺めてるんだけどさ。朝日もいいもんだな。
綺麗だよ。 街がオレンジに染まっていく。
お、元気出てきたな。
ここって司くんの言ってた例の場所だよね。
ああ、
今まで絶対に教えてくれなかったのに、どうして今日は教えてくれるの？
Because he wants to stick his tongue down your throat.
別になんとなく。
No?
なんとなくって。
I could think of a reason, but I didn't want to say anything. It just seemed kind of far-fetched to me. And if I were misinterpreting him, I'd be very embarrassed. He couldn't possibly, could he? My face felt kind of warm. I placed the sweaty cafe au latte, I think that's how you pronounce it, can on my cheek and sighed it softly.
顔赤いぞ。
そう
まだ具合悪いんじゃないのか。
そんなことないよ。ほら、朝日が赤いせ。
ああ、なるほどな。
Boys can be so dense sometimes.
試験頑張れよ。今からすぐ戻って準備すりゃ間に合うだろ。
ありがとう。司くんのそれ好き。
え？
それと、
なんで謝るんだよ。
いや、昨日ほら、なんかちょっと気まずくなっちゃったし、七不思議のお話して。
ああ、そんなこともあったっけ？
そんなこともって、私は結構気にしてたんだけどな。
女子はほんと細かいこと気にするよな。俺は全然何とも思ってなかったのに。
そっか。
I let out another sigh and turned back towards the morning sun, stretching my arms skywards as a sudden wave of exhaustion overcome me. The day got brighter bit by bit, and I just stood there, silently trying to piece together all the jumbled thoughts rattling around in my head. I was running away from Yoshi, and Tsukasa, was with me, and then I was saved by the old woman.
やっぱり夢だよね、あんなの。
As the bright rays of the sun washed over me, I felt a new life and a new hope welling up from within, and I finally came to terms with those horrid events. Most likely, I was the pen case without an incident, but then, on my way back, something hit my head with a knocked out that would be just my luck.
ちょっとシシド、動くなよ。そのまま。
I didn't know what he was planning to do, but he was staring right at me. It felt kind of like he was staring into my soul. And then, slowly, Tsukasa drew his face towards mine.
これって？
シシド。
嘘？何？これ？
I shut my eyes. I was ready for this. Or maybe I just didn't want to look. But the next sensation I felt wasn't quite the one I was expecting.
シシド、これ大丈夫か？
He grabbed my arm for some reason and was staring down at it intently.
何よ、紛らわしいな。やだ、何これ。
Turns out he was just concerned by the strange bruise I had apparently received. which had momentarily become visible when I raised my arms. It was right around my elbow, right where Yoshi had grabbed me in my dream.
痛そうだな。
全然痛くないけど。
けど
なんでもないよ。
Giving a wry smile, I gently pulled my arm from his grip.
ねえ、司くん。
ん
帰る前に一つお願いがあるんだけど。
Kiss me.
なんだよ。
手繋いでもいい？
I thought they were already holding hands.
手
手。ダメなんでという彼の言葉にはなんとなくと答えた。そっと指先を掴んだだけの軽いものだったけど、初めて私はお互いの心がつながっているのを感じた気がして、とても嬉しかったのを覚えている。
ゆい先生、ゆい先生
つかさくん。
ゆい先生ってば。
I knew I'd heard that voice before, but who was it? Was I just dreaming again? I still felt I was holding Tsukasa's hand, though.
ゆい先生、手やっと起きた。
あら？え？持田くん？
そうだよ、持田聡だよ。
Awkward. I was still dazed. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was that one of my students, Satoshi, was here, and he looked concerned.
ゆい先生、いい加減手を。
え？あら！
I finally realized that I was what he was talking about. I was holding Mishida's hand in my own and squeezing it awfully tightly.
やだ！ごめんなさい！私したら。
いいけどさ、ゆい先生、結構握力強いんだな。
あら、そう？これでも昔はか弱く儚い美少女として巷に名を馳せたものだけど。
それどこから突っ込んでいいの？
手厳しいわね。
You could say something nice. So Satoshi was a good student. He and I got along well, and we were already falling back into the usual pattern of good-natured ribbing, except.
ちょっと待って。どうして持田くんがうちにいるの？
それさっき話したじゃん。
え？
はあ、その調子じゃ何も覚えてないんでしょ。
何も？
さっき俺の作ったおかゆ食って薬飲んでまた寝たじゃないか。その時話したのに。本当に綺麗さっぱり覚えてない？
全然。
笑えないよ、もう。
So Satoshi signed and pointed at the table.
山崎先生からの届け物。
もしかしてわざわざそれを届けに来てくれたの？
そうだよ。そしたらゆい先生があんまりにひどい状態だったから飯作って。キッチン借りていいって言ったのはモネだから。
The cat said I can borrow the kitchen.
そっか、モネちゃんがね。
I stroked Monet's neck and he lied down contentedly on my futon. Such a pretty kitty. I was getting kind of wrapped up in petting him. as I often did. I almost forgot. Moshida was here until he let out a huge sigh.
ゆい先生、玄関の鍵は閉めないと不用心だよ。
あら、開いてた？
うん。今回ばかりは開いてて助かったけど、でも今後はちゃんと閉めないとダメだからな。
気をつけるわ。
なんで笑うの？
持田くん、私のお母さんみたいだから。
うわ、複雑。
I didn't mean to laugh. I must have been seemed kind of deranged. But I could always blame it on the fever. Moshida looked at me and let out another sigh. My poor senses of humor must have been getting to him.
でもまあ、だいぶ元気になってきたみたいでよかったよ。
そうみたい。
結構寝てたもんな、ゆい先生。
そうね。確か今朝風邪でめまいがして学校にお休みの電話をしてモネちゃんのご飯を用意して。
あれ、コンビニ行ったんじゃないの？
コンビニ？
うん。冷却シートと弁当があって、ほらこれ。レシートの時間。今朝になってるけど。
ほんとだ。
もしかしてゆい先生、コンビニ行ったこと覚えてないの？
That's a creepy laugh.
うわー、もう、しっかりしてくれよ。まさかパジャマで出かけたりしてないよな。
そんなことはないと思うけど。
どうかな。
Bro, to be out like this, you need to be drinking, either doing drugs or be drinking like extremely strong pills, right?
笑ってごまかさない。
Like be on very strong medication.
ごめん。持田くん、私のことずっと看病してくれてたの？
うん。
そう。遅くまでごめんなさいね。
It was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. I couldn't believe Moshida had been with me this whole time. I felt both guilty and grateful, and I definitely gained a new respect for him. Well, you can definitely repay him, you know, Sam.
おかゆ、まだちょっと残ってるから、腹減ったら食べてよ。あとそれから、これ。
スーパーの袋？
冷蔵庫を見たら何もなかったからさ、ついでに買っておいたよ。
The bag was quite heavy. Inside was a bottle of orange juice, some bananas, canned peaches, apples, and other assorted fruits. Goodness, dude.
これ？
風邪の時ってビタミンを取るといいんだろう。それ食べて早く良くなってよ。
持田くん。
As much fruit couldn't have come cheap, especially for a high schooler. I considered offering to pay him back, but decided against it. I knew he wouldn't take my money. And besides, I really appreciate the fact that he'd gone to all this trouble for me. I'd return the favor another time. You can do it right now. You know, by choking a bit. Dude, I need to stop. I'm so sorry. If it ever seemed like he was going to be staying late, late after school, maybe I'd buy him dinner. Or I could help him with preparations for the school's festival.
じゃあ俺帰るよ。
あ、大丈夫？道わかるかしら？なんなら途中まで見送りに行くわよ。
大丈夫だよ。ゆい先生はおとなしく寝てて。まだ本調子じゃないんだし。第一、夜道を女の人一人で歩くなんて 危険だよ。
持田くんは優しいね。そういうとこキュンとしちゃう。
あれ？そういうこと俺に言っていいの？
なんで？
Satoshi and I joked like this a lot. Usually it made him blush and get adorably embarrassed. But not today. Today just grinned sheepishly with mischievous glint of his eyes. I didn't quite get it. What was his angle?
司くんって誰？先生の恋人？
どうしてそれ？
ゆい先生寝てる時ずっとその人のこと呼んでたよ。うなされながら何度も司くん司くんって。誰なんだよ。
That crafted Mashida had turned the tables on me, and how embarrassing to know that I'd been calling Tsukasa's name.
それは
I hesitated to answer for a moment, but then figured, what the hell, why not?
司くんはね、私の初恋の人。
その様子じゃゆい先生はよっぽどその人のことが好きだったんだね。だって先生さっきすごかったよ。俺のこと司って人と間違えてたでしょ。
やだ。
ゆい先生顔赤いよ。
これは熱のせいよ、きっと。
Yeah, whatever.
まあいいや。そういうことにしてあげる。
もうあんまり大人をからかわないで。
だってこんなゆい先生めったに見れないからさ。
I wasn't sure if I was ever going to give me the full story of all the embarrassing things I'd done in my fever days, and maybe it was better that he didn't. Either way, I was in his debt. Well, I mean, he walked into your house. You could see that as well, right? So maybe you're not in his debt. He shouldn't have been there in the first place. So he could tease me all he wanted, just this once.
やばい。そろそろ帰らないと。ゆかがカンカンだ。
今日はありがとね。もう暗いから気をつけて帰るのよ。
はーい。それじゃあ先生、食事をきちんととって頑張って早く治してくれよ。
頑張る。
ファイト。
ありがとう。いい子だな、持田くんは。いかんいかん。あの子は生徒だぞ。
It's okay. You know?
おいで、モネちゃん。一緒に寝よっか。会いたいな、司くん。
What happened to him? Oh man, that's the ending of this episode. What happened to him, bro? She's missing him. Purgatory is now available. No idea who this guy is. And by the way, I think we clicked 4 times throughout the whole chapter, so... But yeah, guys, that was Demise, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!